Hello, welcome to AOD. This is a mistake. This podcast is a huge mistake. I regret it already. This is a podcast about an 8-dimensional being telling people how to play the Matrix. It's made by a comedian. You connect those dots. This is satire, obviously. Enjoy. Sorry, I feel like I came in a little bit intense there. Us 8-dimensional beings can be a little exasperated with your human bullshit. Anyway, welcome to AOD. AOD stands for Awakening Orientation Department. That is both wordy and dorky, so moving forward, we are going to call this AOD. However, this is the Awakening Orientation Department. This podcast is designed to help you disengage from the human version of yourself that you were using in the last game and move into the God version of yourself. Whew, I can already hear the Christians picketing. Just kidding. It'll never be that big. All right, so this is the orientation to the orientation. A lot of information that some of you already have, but we need to have it in one place, so just bear with me. This episode is going to be boring as hell. All right, so awakening. You're going through the awakening. If you clicked on this podcast and you're not familiar with my bullshit, you're probably going through some sort of awakening. Doesn't awakening sound fancy and fun? It's not. It's a nightmare. Have you figured out yet that it's a nightmare? Here's how it goes. We were living in a game. This whole planet is a place where we play games. It's a stage, I don't know, it's an interactive matrix. Matrix is not necessarily a bad thing. You just have to learn how to work the game. We collectively have been playing a game in an age that was unconscious, which means you, the human version of you does not know that you are also the God version of you. Okay, so if you know anything about video games, this is essentially, this is a repeat for some of the class. Essentially, it's a first-person shooter. So a first-person shooter game is where you're experiencing the game straight out of your eyeballs. Everything is very visceral. Your higher self during that game, that's the real you. That's the you that put on the virtual reality goggles, okay? That version of you has been playing a role-playing game. So a role-playing game is where you pick an adventure and you hit go and then watch the thing play out. So in the last age, the last about 2,000 years, you've lived many lives. You don't remember most of them. You have been playing games in this separated state from your higher self. That is the sensation that you have had that something outside of you is creating your life. For some people, that's God. For some people, that is source. For some people, that is destiny or fate. You've met people in your life and you've been like, this feels orchestrated somehow. Yeah, it was just you, but you didn't remember that you were you. Anyway, moving forward, we're going into the age of Aquarius. A completely different game. The last game was a masculine, fear-based, unconscious reality. It was a lot of other things. This podcast will cover them at some point. We are moving into a conscious, so now you're going to be playing as your own God, feminine, love-based age. We're going to explain what the masculine and feminine means in a little bit. Now, this is an interesting game because it is essentially an RPG. So you are moving in to consciously creating your reality. That means rather than life happening to you and you're reacting to it in the moment, you are going to be deciding what you want to do, strategizing, typing it into the system, learning how to feed your desires to the matrix, which gives it back to you, and then experiencing it and then learning how to collapse that reality and move into another one. It's a completely different game than what you've been playing. The awakening is the process of cleaning up all of what's left in your body, in your mind, in your energy, in your emotions from the last game. That takes... God, it takes so fucking... It's like ridiculous. Why does it take this long? Like, we've been doing this for billions and billions of years that don't exist. Do you think we might have found a more efficient way than anyway? So, that's what I'm here to help you with. This is also coming from someone whose human energy is a complete nutbag. So don't take this too seriously, please. Also, I am not your guru. I am not your leader. I am not your teacher. Okay? I'm a voice in a microphone. I'm a perspective in a microphone. If you like the perspective, it's because you're probably sharing a similar perspective. If at some point it doesn't resonate, hop off. For those of you that are just listening for the first time and you're like, what is this insane person talking about? I'm talking about insane things. There is a feature on your podcast app. They unrolled this feature sometime in the last year. It looks like a square inside of a circle. You can push that button and end your misery right now. You can end my voice in your ears, which I would if I was you. So go ahead and push that button at any point. You don't even have to leave a 1-star review. You can, whatever, feel your feelings, but it's not mandatory. I feel like some of you don't know this. There is a thing that happens where people are forced to listen to content they don't enjoy. And I don't know if you're locked in a room right now, one of these rooms where they're forcing people to listen to my content. I'm really sorry. A quick summary of what the two ages are. We're coming out of the age of Pisces, okay? So we're coming out of an age where the goal was to regulate your internal environment by controlling your external environment. Okay, this is why we are all so fucking manipulative. This is why we're all looking for something outside of ourselves. This is why we're chasing money and love and cards and everything else, is because that's kind of the way the game was set up. We are moving into a game where we will balance our internal environment in order to, I don't want to say control our external environment, because we're getting rid of a lot of ideas like control and punishment and revenge and all this energy, this controlling other people energy. You will cultivate, you will create your external environment by balancing your internal environment. I know that right now that feels like a million miles from what you're going through, but that is because you, the galactic energy version of you, decided that it would like to be one of the people paving the path for everyone else. I don't know why you decided to do it. I sure as fuck don't know why I decided to do it. But anyway, here we are. I digress. I regress also quite a bit. Sorry about that. You'll see it. Awakening is consciousness, essentially. That happens for a lot of different people. We have social consciousness. These people don't know they're galactic beings, but they are becoming socially conscious. I'm saying these people as if I'm not one of them. But a lot of the things that you've seen shift in the last 10 years have been the result of consciousness. We're waking up. We're going, hey, wait a second. Why is there billions of us, but only 15 people get to sit at the table? We're waking up to equality. We're waking up to the fact that there are structures and constructs that are harmful. Environmental consciousness. You know, we're living on this planet which has its own consciousness. I have been, the human version of me has been guilty of this as well, not realizing that nature has its own flow and way of doing things, and everything we've done in the last game is the exact fucking opposite of how the earth works. We are becoming consciously aware of the effect that we have on nature and how it in turn reflects that back to us. That's consciousness. Self-awareness is the biggest piece of consciousness. It's what we will focus most on in this podcast. We are becoming aware of our trauma. We are becoming aware of how our trauma responses affect our relationships. We are becoming aware of our mental health. We are becoming aware of our emotional self. We are becoming aware of our motives and our tendency to project. All of this is self-awareness. This is exhausting. Holy shit, it is fucking exhausting. It is thankless, tireless, never-ending work. However, it will end. We will get through this. But you, the human version of you right now, is processing your whole game's worth of shit. Even the last game, because that one didn't end very good. We called that Atlantis and we blew it up. Anyway, we'll get to that later. The game within the game that you're currently playing is this threshold between the two games. There are no jump cuts in reality. Reality is an interactive video game, kind of like a movie. You feed into it in a very specific way. We're going to get into that as well. Oh, God. Am I just going to say we're going to get into that the entire fucking podcast? Jesus Christ. I should write more notes. The game within a game that you're playing is you are working the threshold, okay? In this, awakening is not a race. It's not a contest. It is not linear. Time doesn't exist. When everyone buys into this game, they set kind of a general goal of when they would like to wake their avatar up. There was a time where I believed I was superior because my avatar woke up 20 years ago. I have since learned that the people who decided to wake up after the new thing is already built are geniuses, and we should envy them more than anything else. Waking up does not make us superior. It's normal for you to feel superior for a little bit, though, because they talk to us like we're crazy. So it's fine. It's fine. Feel your feelings. The previous age was masculine. So I'm going to explain what masculine and feminine are. I am not talking about gender. If I have ever talking about gender, I will specify that I am talking about gender. When I'm talking about gender, I'm not necessarily talking about dicks and vaginas. This thing is like we have one word for all these different things, okay? I'm probably never talking about dicks and vaginas on this podcast. If I'm off of this podcast, quite a bit of talking about dicks and vaginas, boobs as well. Anyway, I digress. Masculine energy is pushing energy. It is the giver. It is the constructor. It is mental. Okay, so when we're talking about masculine energy, most of us have been operating in our masculine energy. It has toxic aspects to it in this reality because it was an unconscious age, not because masculinity is bad, not because masculine energy is bad, but any unconscious age inevitably ends toxic as fuck. Feminine energy is receptive. It is creative. It is receptive. I'm going to say that twice. It's feelings, where masculine energy is thoughts. Okay. So when we're talking about those two energies, that's what we're talking about. So we're moving into a intuitive age rather than an intellectual age. We are moving into a feelings, emotional body rather than all of this just over analyzing, thinking, constructing. We are going to create. Okay. It's going to be an artistic energy. each person has equal parts masculine and feminine energy, but a lot of us have to heal that because a lot of us were programmed as children to put the parts of us that our parents were ashamed of into our shadow. We'll get more into that later. This interactive video game is kind of like a movie that works in real time. You do not get to write the script to your movie, but you do get to write the plot, the summary, the outcome. Within the movie, you have the higher self. Your true self would be the writer. The ego would be the actor. Don't waste a bunch of time trying to kill your ego. Just stop identifying as your ego. Does that make sense? So the ego is the actor. When you tell the ego, hey, we're going to play this character, and that I would probably call the avatar. The ego goes, okay, I am this now. And then the trick in this game is to stay in the mentality, enjoy the experiences as the ego, but keep balanced in the writer position so that you don't start to believe your own legend. Okay, so you can put whatever cool life experience you want. Don't start to believe your own bullshit because that's where you fall into the ego. Don't try to kill the ego, though. That's insane. The shadow is the enemy, okay? It is the enemy. The shadow, because you're not aware of it most of the time, you project onto other people. When you're having an external enemy in experience, it's most often your shadow. So that is also something we'll get into. Shadow work is a big part of the next 7 years. Fuck. I don't want to do this for 7 years. Anyway. Ascension is a word we say a lot in this business. Ascension is the point of getting from point A to point B. It's essentially healing. You have to heal so much goddamn shit. A lot of the stuff you're healing, you're not only healing for yourself, you are healing from the collective because, dun dun dun, you are everybody else. We are actually just one big vibrating ball of light, daydreaming and experiencing all these things as separate pieces, but we are each other. Healing happens in a spiral. You're going to think that you figured it all out. You're always going to think you figured it all out. You haven't figured out dick. You figured out one aspect of it, and then you're going to be high on that for a little bit. You're going to get some superpowers that aren't even superpowers. It's just that you've only been playing 10% of the game, and now the game is opening up to a much bigger version of itself. Then after you've been big shot for a little bit, you're going to get humbled, not back down. You're going to get triggered by something you swore you were over, and then you're going to be like, what the fuck? I'm not magic anymore. And then you're going to deal with the thing. You're going to deal with it from a different angle. It's a spiral. It's exhausting. It's never ending. My God, why did I sign up for this? When you hear things talked about on this podcast or any other podcast, the most important thing to remember is that you are God. Nobody is your leader. Nobody is your guru. Nobody is your savior. I cannot save you. Don't put that shit on me in particular. It stresses me the fuck out. Do not pedestalize me. The human version of me is a train wreck. The human version of me understands most of what you're going through from making gigantic sweeping mistakes. It stresses the human version of me out when you put that shit on me. I don't like to be pedestalized, and I certainly don't like what happens after I failed to meet your fantasy version of me when you say a bunch of super mean shit to me. The human version of me, extremely sensitive. I know I don't sound like it because the galactic version of me is a huge bitch. You don't have to force anything to happen. It's not a fucking race. Your job is to take your 3D experiences, by 3D I mean physical reality, and process them as they come along. Sometimes you're going to sit in a bedroom and stare at a wall for a month. That's totally fine. All these ideas of like, I got to be productive, I got to make this, I got to do this, that's all bullshit that you're trying to get out of your system. You don't have to do shit. We are going to be doing this for the rest of our goddamn lives. Consciousness never ends. It was here forever before this, and it'll be here forever after this. Relax. Your human self isn't even going to fucking die. Well, some of you might die, but these bodies are about to get an upgrade, and we're going to be here for goddamn ever. It's just fuck. Sorry. I feel like I should have done this on a different day. This is maybe not the day. I need to ask for a raise. Here's some good news and some bad news. The good news is that you are the new world. The bad news is that you are the new world. Sometimes some of you like to get exhausted and point outside of you and go, when's the new world going to get here? Guess what? You're it. That's it. When are you going to do your job? That's all. Build a new fucking world. Heal yourself. Work, do your shit. Now I'm making it sound like a race. I just told you it wasn't a race, but that's it. Yours a new world. We'll get there when you get there. If you're still listening to this, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with you, but there's a good chance that you've been going through an ascension. There are different ways that the ascension is triggered for people. Some people have near-death experience. Some people do psychedelic drugs. Some people experience the death of a close loved one. Some people attain success and wealth and fame in the 3D reality. They climb up to the top of the mountain and realize happiness doesn't exist anywhere. That's the most depressing and ascension template. Some people go through a twin flame connection. If you don't know what a twin flame is, you're very lucky. A twin flame is a soul connection that makes you feel like the most destined, magical thing in the world. It guts you and then highlights all of the worst parts of you, and then for some reason makes you realize that you're God. I don't know. I haven't really figured out how we wrote that one into the code, but I digress. Here's some definitions of some words you'll hear me throw around on this podcast. 3D physical reality. The other dimensions are kind of downloads that we get. I've talked about them on other podcasts. The fourth dimension, the mental space. I hear a lot of people say the head space. Okay, they're talking about that. It's that busy fucking bullshit in your mind. 5D, emotional. These are not places we go. These are just downloads we receive. They're aspects of the game that you now have access to. This is the emotional space. It's also called the heart space. A lot of the language, I try to use different language on here because a lot of language for this shit is used by the New Age movement. I may sound like the New Age movement. I do not fucking resonate with the New Age movement. I'll shit on them in a couple minutes. The heart space is something that has to open up for you. A lot of us have repressed emotions from our parents not letting us cry when we were children. Don't worry, the heart space will come for you at some point. You'll be crying over your spaghetti, and then you'll know. The sixth dimensional downloads involved realizing what it is you want to do. It's opening up your passion. Many of you have been living a life of guilt and obligation, doing everything that society told you to do, like going to college, putting yourself in debt, living in a certain area, staying in relationships you don't like, staying in jobs you don't like, to get health insurance that doesn't really help. All of this hamster wheels, we call them. You are unplugging from the matrix and then getting off of the hamster wheel. The seventh dimensional download, a new aspect of the game we are about to have access to, is coming sometime in the next few weeks, and that will be an earth energy. Okay, so something's going to happen. I don't know yet. I get very weird pictures of things for some reason. They showed me coronavirus before it got here, and it was glitter, whatever the fuck. Whatever happens between January and March, there's some energy that hits the planet. Perhaps it's just inside of all of us that will level the playing field. People will have to get into balance with nature in order for their bodies to function correctly and for them to be able to move the energy forward. Other words I throw around quite a bit, codependence and interdependence. I am defining those things as codependence is the old way of relating in the world that is expecting someone else outside of you to be responsible for you. It might sound cold and heartless when I tell you that nobody outside of you is responsible for you, but I am giving you keys to finding the control panel within you. Stepping into your power and becoming an autonomous being gives you way more power than hinging your happiness on the actions of another person. Interdependence is learning how to become an independent person and loving and relating alongside of another independent person. Timeline is another word we use quite a bit. Timeline is a potential reality. There is a million timelines lined up, and you can hop from them. That's something we'll talk about, that and manifestation. None of these things are magic. These are just aspects to the game. You've been playing this game unconsciously the entire time. Now we are just pointing these things out. Death process is something we talk about when you are killing an avatar. That sounds brutal. This is not talking about physical death. The physical reality is the tiniest part of this game. A death process is when you've been playing a certain character for a while and you don't want to play that character anymore. Please normalize changing your mind, changing your values, learning from your environment and adding things, growing, becoming a better person. I've died 1,000 deaths in front of microphones. I've been awful, shitty versions of myself. Is it cringy to think about people seeing that? But it is what it is. That's what we're doing. We're growing, we're expanding, we're changing as people, and we're normalizing that. The mother wound is another thing we say quite a bit. That is not about your mother. That is, it can be about your mother. When the masculine and feminine energies exploded out from each other at the beginning of whenever the fuck this was, the energies then began to orbit each other. And at the core, all of our conflict and pain and hurt is that wound. It's those two energies trying to come back together, specifically in relationships, especially things like twin flame relationships. Atlantis, or the Atlantean wound. Atlantis was the last game that we played before the game we're coming out of. It didn't go well. We did blow it up. The Atlantean wound is the wound where some of us got out and some of us did not get out. And so we carry that around kind of in our subconscious. Those of us that feel abandoned all the time are the ones that got left behind. The people who can't make a fucking decision because they feel like it's going to be the wrong decision. Even it's like, are you going to get a salad with lunch? Those are the ones that got out. Anyway, fuck them, right? The Matrix is something else we talk about. The Matrix is just the game that you're in. It's got an algorithm, and we will learn on this podcast, discuss on this podcast how to feed things into the algorithm so reality feeds them back to you. The goal of the awakening process is to peel back the layers of things you've stored in your programming, in your physical body, in your life, in your consciousness from the old age that you will not need in the new age, okay? Those things are trauma, limiting beliefs, programming, shame, prejudices, guilt, judgments of yourself, obligation, codependency, low self-worth, addiction, fear, attachment, etc., etc. A lot of the concepts from the old age are not going to move forward. This is going to be an autonomous age. Everyone's going to regulate themselves. A lot of us have an inner cop that we're going to have to address. The desire to impose your will on other people will need to go. The desire to punish or seek revenge on other people will have to go. These things do not need to be immediately removed from your truth. Okay, let me explain that a little bit. Within spirituality, I'm using air quotes right now, there are a lot of people who like to pretend to have their shit together when they do not actually have their shit together. There is a peer pressure within spiritual circles. Also, you have a spirit, you're spiritual. I'm pretty sure I stole that from somebody. I would credit you if I could remember. But that is a great description of it. Spirituality is not religion. Okay, if what I'm telling you doesn't resonate or feel true, or you're not coming to this conclusion on your own, go do something else, because this podcast isn't for you. And that's not a value judgment. It's just, this is for people who already think this. Okay, this is just for some categories and some boxes to put some words for the experience that you're having. Spirituality is not a religion. If you read a book and it tells you not to be judgmental, but you still feel judgmental, be judgmental. Do the judgmental shit. Have outbursts. Get triggered. Yell at people. Whatever. Talk shit. Gossip. Do it until you don't want to do it anymore. This is not Christianity. There is not going to be a judgment day where they go, well, you were bad. There is no bad or good. We were shitbags in the old age, and the only way to become not shitbags is to feel our feelings, have authentic experiences, and face them head on, look at ourselves being judgmental and saying, okay, why am I being judgmental? Oh, okay, because I'm threatened by this person. Okay, cool. And work through your shit. If you are in a hurry to look like some spiritual person so that you can feel superior to other people, you're wasting all of our time. Be who the fuck you are today. Allow your life experience, allow your shadow out of the darkness, allow your freak flag, your shitbag flag, whatever to fly. Be honest so that we can move this thing forward. Ideally, you come to a day where you do nothing out of obligation. You're no longer addicted to anything. You're not attached to anything. Trying to force non-attachment is an attachment. What the fuck? Be attached and observe that experience. The observer in you is the most powerful way to hack the matrix. This podcast is not for love and lighters. Nothing I've ever made was for love and lighters. That does not mean I don't like love and light. I do not like feigned love and light. I do not like spiritual bypassing. I have done it in one of my past iterations. I had to heal from it. We do not throw platitudes at people having their experience. There is higher truth, and then there's the experience that someone is currently having. We don't throw a ball of everything's happening for a reason to someone who is dealing with their trauma. We go, man, we hold space at where they're at, or we get the fuck out of the way. That love and light shit, I don't like it. There's a million yoga pant kombucha fucking podcasts for you. Go do that. This is birth, man. This is birth. This is death. This is dirty. This is dirty and messy and chaotic. And that's what it is. We're doing fucking work here. We're not trying to look like we have our shit together. That's why I'm your spokesperson. If you're familiar with me, I don't have shit together. Virtues, before they are actually your lived virtues, are just fake. It's performative. It's not real. Until you've allowed the life experience to shape and mold you, till you've stared yourself in the face and gone, man, I do want to be a bitch in this situation. I do want to take someone's energy. Why am I doing this? And then dealt with it from there. That's real. Trying to pretend that you're nice when you have a screaming voice of anger underneath, we can all hear that. No one gives a shit, my God. I'm so aggressive today. I'm so glad I recorded this today. Just kidding. I've recorded it 300 times. A couple more things, then we're going to get out of here. This will be the format of the podcast. This format of this podcast will be the 8th-dimensional version of me screaming into a microphone. The episodes will be very easy to find for future reference. It is meant to help people through their awakening process. The episodes will be split up into earth, air, fire, and water episodes so we can get familiar with how these different elements work. Earth episodes will be about building community, the environment, physical health. Air episodes will be about mental health, hacking reality, and our programming. Fire episodes will be about transformation and passion. Water episodes will be about the emotional body, clearing our trauma, codependency, interdependence, etc. Okay, holy shit. I just edited this podcast and cut off the end of it and felt like I needed to come back here and talk about some of the fun parts of the game for people who are not familiar with me. This is actually fun. It's fun. We haven't had fun in it for a bit. It's been a pretty intense year, but we're shifting energies right now and we're going to move into something that is a lot more fun. It is the most fun when you have your mind wrapped around the work that it is. When you're like, listen, this is exhausting, this is birth, but I'm going to get an amazing baby afterwards. What we are doing, imagine a cornfield, and those of you doing this work right now are pushing down the corn, and the next group that comes in pushes it down more and pushes it down more, but we are pushing it down to get to the other side, which is going to be an amazing utopia of fun. We're going to have so much fun together. We're all going to live in harmony and in unity. And I know that that feels impossible right now, but consciousness is amazing. It's fucking amazing. I read an article yesterday someone sent me about kids. This is about to be the greatest transfer of wealth between the boomers, I think, and the millennials. And there are millennials who are standing to get like $100 million who are intending to use that money to tear down these systems. This energy hits the entire planet, not just people who have unchecked schizophrenia and believe that they are a galactic being. This is going to be great, and you are doing a fantastic job. And I will not always be screaming into a microphone, but I felt like I definitely wanted to weed out some of the toxically positive people, because at the core of it, you have to be ready to face some very dark shit within yourself to get the rewards of this experience. But my goal is to help ease that for you, to stand as a doula, to tell you that you're doing a great job, to give you tricks and tips that I've learned along the way, to simplify some of these things. I hope you enjoy it. If you go to jessareed.com, there's a few things available. I sometimes do readings. I sometimes do coaching sessions. You kind of have to check every week to see what's up. I have some human health issues I'm dealing with, so I try not to overcommit. There is a Patreon. That's a subscription service. You can get bonus episodes with guests for $5 a month. You can get live energy updates or live streams that are energy updates and readings for $10 a month. That they're for a month. I can't tell you when any of this stuff's going to come out because of the health issues, but you get 4 a month every month. 2 episodes, 4 of those a month, and then 4 live streams a month. And those are interactive, talking about the episodes that have come out. In January, I'll be revamping the Patreon. There are also some merch on the website that you can get as well. I'm going to cut this here. I'm hopefully going to put out a couple more episodes before I launch this. Thank you so much for listening. I'm really sorry about it. I listened to it, and if you're still at this point, I mean, I don't know why. Why are you still at this point?